Mysterious, slightly melancholic music begins. Soft and atmospheric, they found him kneeling in the dust, blood dripping from where his eyes once were. In his trembling hands, he held a folded piece of cloth, his mother's old headscarf. No one in the village could understand why he did it, until they heard his final words. This is the story of a sacrifice so profound it forever changed the light of the morning sun. Music shifts to a warmer, more hopeful tone in a quiet African village. Surrounded by endless fields of yam and golden dust, lived a boy named Chima and his widowed mother, Mama Nina. She had lost her sight years ago, a creeping shadow that stole the world from her. Yet, despite her blindness, her laughter still filled their small mud hut with an undeniable warmth, a light that even the darkest corners couldn't extinguish. Chima was her everything. He was her eyes, her strength, her only child. He was the anchor in her sea of darkness. Every morning, before the first rays of dawn painted the sky, he would gently guide her hand to her weathered walking stick. He'd lean in and whisper, his voice full of youthful promise, "Mama, let's see the world together." And together, they would. He described the vibrant colors of the market, the way the weaver birds built their intricate nests, the smile on a neighbor's face. Through his words, she saw everything. He was the bridge between her memories of sight and the world as it was now. But joy, like a river, can sometimes run dry. One season, a terrible drought struck the land. It came not with a roar, but with a silent, creeping thirst. The vibrant green fields of yam cracked open, turning into a mosaic of brown and gray. The mighty river that fed the village shrank to a mere trickle, its voice a hoarse whisper. Hunger, a silent hunter, began to stalk the village, its shadow falling over every home. And it found its way into Chima's small hut. Mama Nina, already frail, fell gravely ill. The little light she had left in her world faded completely. Her blindness, once a familiar companion, became a suffocating prison. Her body, once filled with laughter, grew weak and still. Chima watched his mother, the center of his universe, fading away like a dying ember. Panic, cold and sharp, began to grip his heart. He refused to let her go. He did everything a son could do. He sold the few clothes he owned for a handful of grain. He worked from sunup to sundown in the blistering heat for neighbors who had a little more to spare. His hands blistering, his back aching. He spent hours by the ancient village shrine, his knees raw from kneeling, his voice hoarse from praying to the ancestors for a drop of rain, a spark of life. But the skies remained a merciless, empty blue. The ancestors remained silent. Nothing worked. Music becomes tense, mysterious. One night, as he sat under a sliver of a moon, feeling the weight of the world on his young shoulders, a figure emerged from the deep shadows of the baobab tree. It was a stranger, cloaked and hooded, their face obscured by darkness. When the stranger spoke, his voice was unlike any Chima had ever heard, deep and smooth, like the memory of running water, a sound the parched land had long forgotten. "I can heal your mother," the stranger said, the words hanging in the still night air. Chima's head snapped up, a desperate hope igniting in his chest. But the stranger continued, his voice steady. "But every gift demands a price." Chima didn't even hesitate. The thought of his mother's laughter, the warmth of her hand in his, it was all that mattered. "Anything," he whispered, the word a prayer on his lips. "I'll give anything." A faint smile seemed to touch the stranger's hidden lips. "Then you will give what she lost." "Your eyes." Music swells with dramatic tension, then falls to a quiet, somber hum. The words hit Chima like a physical blow. He froze, his breath catching in his throat. Fear, primal and cold, clawed at his heart. His eyes, the very things he used to show his mother the world. How could he? But then, an image flooded his mind, his mother's trembling hands searching for him in the dark, her lost, beautiful smile, her gentle voice calling his name. He saw her, trapped and fading, and the choice, as terrible as it was, became clear. His sight for her life. It was a price he was willing to pay. At the first light of dawn, the stranger led Chima to the dry riverbed, the place where life once flowed freely. The wind began to howl, kicking up dust and whispering through the cracked earth as the stranger spoke ancient, forgotten words. A blinding light engulfed them, a light so bright it felt like staring into the heart of the sun itself. When it was over, Chima fell to the ground. Darkness. The world he knew was gone. The stranger had vanished, leaving only the sound of the moaning wind. He was blind. Music becomes soft, poignant, and hopeful back in their small hut. Something miraculous was happening. Mama Nina stirred, She blinked, and then she saw colors, light, the familiar patterns on her blanket. Her eyes, once clouded and useless, were bright, clear, and alive. A cry of disbelief and joy escaped her lips. "Chima," she called out, her voice strong and clear. "Chima, I can see." But there was only silence. She scrambled from her bed, her heart pounding with a mixture of joy and a sudden, inexplicable dread. And then, by the doorway, silhouetted against the rising sun, she saw him. He was kneeling in the dust, his head bowed. As she got closer, she saw he was smiling faintly, and from his closed eyelids, tears of blood traced paths down his dusty cheeks. "Mama," he said softly, his voice weak but full of love. "You can see the sunrise again." Music swells with emotion, a mix of tragedy and beauty. That is how the villagers found them. The mother, restored to sight, weeping over her son's still body, clutching him tightly as the morning sun he had gifted her rose majestically over the fields. Her cries of anguish and love echoed through the quiet village, a sound no one would ever forget. From that day forward, the old folks in Oba village would tell you that the sunrise always looked brighter. The golds were richer, the reds more vibrant, the light more gentle. It was as if someone, somewhere, had given the dawn a brand new pair of eyes. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. This story is a powerful reminder of the depths of love and sacrifice. If it touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories that explore the human spirit. Until next time, take care.